A pleasant morning, 7STE. Today's discussion will be about Quarter 3, Module 4, Earthquake and Volcanic Eruption. Objectives: explain the causes and effects of natural disasters to humans and the environment. At the end of this module, you are expected to, number 1, describe natural disasters as occurrences that affect human lives and the environment, such as earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. 2. Explain the causes and effects of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And 3. Write a meaningful essay about the causes and effects of earthquakes and volcanic eruption. What I know. Choose the letter of the best answer. Write the letter of your choice on your answer sheet. See pages 2 to 4 of Quarter 3, Module 4. What's in? Arrange the jumbled letters in each number to form a meaningful word that is related to the topic, and write the answer on the line before the number. So let's read number 1. It is the vibrations of the Earth's crust, the trembling of the Earth's surface. So these are the jumbled letters. Number 2. It is either a man-made or natural event that brings catastrophe or destruction to human lives. So what is it? Number 3, it occurs when hot molten magma rises from below the ground and ejects through the opening of the volcano as lava. Number 4, it is the weakest part where the slippage of rocks occurs within a fault. And number 5, it is an area encircling the Pacific Ocean where earthquakes and volcanic activities occur. What's new? Study the figures below and then answer the guide questions that follow. So in figure number 1, we have an illustration of a volcanic eruption. In figure number 2, we have an illustration of an earthquake. So let's answer the guide questions. Number 1, in your own words, how can you describe a natural disaster? Number 2, what are your insights about volcanic eruption? And number 3, how would you describe the extent of damage caused by an earthquake? What is it? Before we have our discussion about natural disasters, let us first read a short comic strip here in figure 3. Many changes in our environment have taken place due to volcanic eruptions and earthquakes that we have experienced. One reason why we experience those is because we are also located in the Pacific Ring of Fire. And the effects of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are felt and visible in some parts of our country like Pampanga and Batangas. So what is a natural disaster? A natural disaster is considered as major adverse event resulting from the natural processes in the world. Examples of natural disasters are earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. This may cause loss of lives or property, damage, and leaves economic damage in its wake. Though these natural hazards are unprecedented, we can reduce their devastating effects by planning prevention beforehand. Lesson 1, Earthquakes. An earthquake is the sudden movement or vibration of the crust, the Earth's rocky outer layer. It is caused by rock masses that suddenly shift in position. As rock masses shift into new positions, the energy stored in the rock masses is transmitted onto the surface in the form of seismic earthquake waves. So in this picture, you are going to see that our waves moves away from the source. So our waves are becoming larger and larger. So a violent earthquake is triggered when two plates slide past each other along faults, just like in this picture. So one plate moves forward and another one moves backward. So when this happens, a very violent earthquake will take place. Within a fault, the weakest part where the slippage of rocks occurs is called the focus or origin. So take a look at this picture. This is our focus or origin. This is the point underground where the earthquake begins. So dito nagsisimula ang lindol. The area above the focus is named the epicenter, where the strong shaking of the ground is felt. So, above the focus, we will find the epicenter. So, here is the epicenter. It is the point on the surface of the earth directly above the focus. So, siya yung nasa tapat ng focus. Focus is located underground, epicenter naman is found above ground on the surface of the earth. So as the rock masses slide and slip against one another, the stored energy is released and it moves outward in all direction. So when vibration starts in the focus, okay, so the vibration will spread outward, forming seismic waves, and then we will be able to feel the earthquake as it reaches the surface of the earth. The strongest and most devastating earthquakes are attributed to the sudden movement of tectonic plates. These earthquakes are called tectonic earthquakes. So when earthquakes is because of the movement of tectonic plates, we call them as tectonic earthquakes. And the picture on the right shows us how tectonic earthquakes happen. Let us first start with normal faulting. So a normal fault happens when a block above the fault, this one, has moved downward relative to the block below. So ito yung normal na level ng ground or ng lupa. Tapos, nung after na magkaroon ng movement of tectonic plates, one part of the ground falls downward. So, this is called a normal fault. Next, we have a thrust fault. This one. So, yung reverse faulting na kung tawagin. So, in reverse faulting, the upper block above the fault plane moves up and over the lower block. Ito yung normal level ng lupa. Tapos, ang nangyari, yung isang part ng ating ground ay nag-thrust forward. Okay? Tawag dito reverse faulting. So, when tectonic plates move, tectonic earthquakes happen. And the next one is called the strike-slip faulting. So, in a strike-slip fault, two blocks slide past one another. So, sila ay parang nagkiskisan. So, one block moves forward, another block moves backward. So, this is an example of a strike-slip faulting. And the San Andreas fault in United States of America is an example for this. So, sa kanilang tatlo, ang pinaka most violent, most destructive, and most damaging type of earthquake would be itong nasa gitna, yung strike-slip faulting. Earthquakes usually happen along faults. So faults are cracks in the Earth's crust which are formed by tremendous force. So in this picture, you will see that there is a crack in the Earth's crust. So this crack is called as a fault. Here in the Philippines, we also have plenty of faults. So on your left, I have a map of the Philippines, and those that are labeled, areas labeled with a red continuous line shows the location of active faults in the Philippines. So meron tayong mga active faults in Luzon, we also have them in the Visayas, and we also have them in Mindanao. So, lahat ng mga merong red continuous line, yun yung location ng mga active faults in the Philippines. Next, the Marikina Valley Fault System, this one on the right, also known as the Valley Fault System, is a dominant dextral strike-slip fault system in Luzon, Philippines. So, here in the Philippines ay meron din tayong napakalaking strike-slip fault. Okay? Parang sa San Andreas. So, it extends from Doña Remedios Trinidad in Bulacan in the north and runs through the provinces of Rizal, Metro Manila, cities of Quezon, Marikina, Pasig, Makati, Taguig, and Muntinlupa, and the provinces of Cavite, and Laguna that ends in Canlubang. Okay? So, this red continuous line is your Marikina Valley Fault System. In our previous slide, we discussed about tectonic earthquakes. So pag sinabing tectonic earthquakes, it is an earthquake due to the movement of tectonic plates. So ang susunod naman natin na type of earthquake is called a volcanic earthquake. So it occurs in areas that are associated with volcanic activities. So paano nagkakaroon ng volcanic earthquakes? So as fluid magma rises to the surface, its pressure fractures rock masses. So dahil sa very high pressure noong magma na lumalabas mula sa ilalim ng lupa, nagkakaroon ng fracture or ng mga cracks, bitak-bitak yung lupa. So this causes continuous tremors that can be felt on small scale. So kapag nabibitak-bitak yung mga lupa na yan, yan yung nararamdaman natin sa surface. And it is an example of a volcanic earthquake. An earthquake is one of the most frightening things that anyone can ever experience. Earthquakes may strike anytime. People do not know when and where it will happen. No one can stop quakes from happening, but there are things that humans can do to avoid or reduce the loss of life and damage to property. Having a clear and concise understanding of the occurrence of an earthquake is the first step to avoid or to reduce the possible damages. Just like any country along the Ring of Fire, we too have active and inactive volcanoes that continuously shape the Earth's surface. These volcanoes can be described in different ways. Features of active volcanoes based on its activities and emission are the following. So before we proceed to the next slide, so this picture is the Pacific Ring of Fire. So ang Pacific Ring of Fire is an area in the Pacific Ocean where different volcanic activities happen as well as earthquakes. And our country, the Philippines, belongs in this Pacific Ring of Fire. So we also have a contribution to this so-called Ring of Fire. Some of the observable effects of strong earthquakes on the surface of the Earth are, letter A, ground tremors. So the crust of the Earth that shakes is determined by the strength of the movement and the distance of an area from the focus and epicenter of the earthquake. So ground tremors can cause damages to structures such as commercial buildings, monuments, and churches, which may break, crack, or collapse. So in this picture, we have an example of a very strong earthquake that happened in Taiwan. So because of the very strong earthquake, this building collapsed. So makikita nyo na meron na lang mga tukod doon sa building to prevent it from falling. So because of the ground tremors, the very strong ground tremors that happened, this building lost its balance and collapsed. Another observable effects of strong earthquakes on the surface of the earth are, letter B, land ruptures. So the shock near the epicenter can cause the land surface to break open. Fissures or cracks can also be found in some distant areas from the epicenter. So tremors may even force water, mud, and sand out of the ground through these cracks because of the pressure caused by the movement of the underground rocks. So another effect of strong earthquakes is that the land can crack open, so fissures are formed, or we also call this as ruptures, land ruptures. Another effect of strong earthquakes on the surface of the earth is, letter C, land slippage. During an earthquake, side-by-side sliding movement of the ground may take place. This movement can be observed in things that seem to rise, bend, or twist after an earthquake. This creates high cliffs and sinking lowlands. So, in this picture, we have a road na nagkaroon ng land slippage. So, one part of the road remains to be in the same level before the earthquake, and one part of it slipped downward. Another observable effect of strong earthquakes on the surface of the earth is landslides. So hillsides and high cliffs become unstable because of the strong shocks of an earthquake, and this can cause landslide, just like in this picture. So masses of rocks slip down from highlands, thus flattening the highlands. So this landslide could also cause loss of life and property. Let us now discuss the secondary effects of earthquakes. So number one, we have tsunamis. So a tsunami is a series of waves caused by earthquakes or undersea volcanic eruptions. As the waves travel inland, they build up to higher and higher heights as the depth of the ocean decreases. Underwater earthquakes create huge waves in the oceans or seas. Tsunamis are big waves that can move hundreds of kilometers per hour in the ocean and flow into the land with waves as high as 10 meters or more, just like in this picture. So the waves travel outward in all directions and build a height on the shore. So in a few seconds, these big waves flow over the land, wash away the structures along the path, and then return to the ocean, leaving great damages and loss of lives. So here we have a picture of a tsunami that is just starting. So this happened in Japan. Oscillating waves called seiches occur on lakes shaken by earthquakes and are usually a few meters high. These waves can cause floods in low areas and are capable of destroying houses. So a picture on the right shows an example of seiches. The next secondary effect of earthquakes are fires. Strong shocks from earthquakes may cut electrical wirings and fuel pipes. Such cuts can cause fires. More damages such as loss of properties and lives may follow because of fires. In the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, California, United States of America, 90% of the damage was caused by fires. So the fire started because electrical wirings and fuel pipes have been cut because of the strong shocks from the earthquake. Another secondary effect of earthquakes are loss of properties and lives. Strong earthquakes can leave people homeless as damage to properties is incurred during such natural disasters. Earthquakes can also result in the loss of lives, especially if earthquakes are very strong. The strong earthquake that occurred in Bohol in 2013 left many people dead and homeless after old churches, homes, and other structures were destroyed by the earth's tremors. So these pictures were taken during the 2013 earthquake in Bohol. So churches, old churches were damaged because of the very strong earthquake. Lesson 2: Volcanic Eruption. The Philippines belongs to the Pacific Ring of Fire. It is an area encircling the Pacific Ocean where earthquakes and volcanic activities occur. Based on the record, our country has 53 active volcanoes. So let us take a look at this picture. So this picture shows us the Pacific Ring of Fire. So around the Pacific Ocean, there are plenty of places where earthquakes and volcanic activities occur. So these small red triangles in our illustration shows the different active volcanoes that are located around the Ring of Fire. So our country, the Philippines, also have plenty of active volcanoes. So based on the record, we have 53. Volcanoes are landforms that are formed by the rising of molten rocks beneath the Earth's surface. So here in the magma chamber, the molten rocks are uh, forced out due to tremendous heat and pressure, and when they come out, a volcano is formed. So they may look quiet and isolated in certain places, however, their effects during eruption can be fearsome. The molten rock inside this chamber is forcefully driven out by intense heat and pressure. So volcanic eruption is characterized by the release of magma from the crater. So when magma is released from the crater of a volcano, a volcanic eruption happens. The magma that flows out on the surface is called lava. So kapag nasa loob pa siya ng Earth's crust, we call the molten rocks as magma. But when it comes out from the crater of the volcano or from cracks in the volcano, we call it as lava. So when a volcano erupts, it throws out lava together with gases, rocks, and ashes. A volcanic eruption can be explosive or non-explosive. So an eruption is explosive when large amounts of pyroclastic materials are ejected by the volcano into the air. So pyroclastic materials consist of lava, ashes, and rocks. An explosive eruption can last for several hours or days. It occurs when gases in the magma are trapped, causing a build-up of pressure in the magma chamber. So, kapag na-trap yung mga gases sa magma chamber, the pressure increases. So, pag mataas na mataas ang pressure inside the magma chamber, the result would be the gases expand very quickly and explode violently. So, therefore, nagkakaroon tayo ng explosive volcanic eruption, such as in these pictures. Next, a volcanic eruption can also be non-explosive. So, this happens when the lava just flows out of the crater and gaps along the sides of the volcano. This kind of eruption happens when there is less pressure in the magma chamber. So kapag mababa ang pressure sa magma chamber, walang masyadong gases na trapped inside the magma chamber, then we have a non-explosive eruption. So there is less pressure when magma is located nearer to the surface of the earth. So kagaya sa mga volcanoes in Hawaii, so dahil yung kanilang mga magma chamber ay mas malapit sa surface or sa ibabaw ng lupa, less ang pressure, less yung gas na natatrap sa magma chamber. Therefore, meron tayong non-explosive eruption. Next, volcanic eruptions can cause damage to plants, animals, people, and property. Despite the destruction it causes, a volcanic eruption can also be beneficial. So number one, the pyroclastic materials from a volcanic eruption can make the soil fertile. So tumataba ang lupa dahil doon sa mga nilalabas na materials ng volcano. Number two, the heat inside the volcano can cause gases to come out through holes or vents called fumaroles. These fumaroles can provide geothermal steam to generate electricity. So, the heat from a volcano can be used as a source of electricity. Pwedeng gamitin para makapag-produce ng kuryente. And number three, eruptions can also produce industrial materials like pumice and sulfur. So pumice is used in grinding and polishing stones, while sulfur is used in making matches and firecrackers. So the very first benefit that we get from volcanoes is that they make the soil fertile. So soil are often very rich in nutrients and hold water well because of their volcanic ash content. So kaya very fertile or mataba ang lupa at mainam pagtamnan ay dahil sa volcanic ash na meron ito. That's why farmers prefer planting in areas that are near volcanoes. Okay? Number two, we also get electricity from volcanoes. So how? By means of geothermal energy. So this is how geothermal energy works. Geo means earth, thermal means heat. Okay? So meron tayo ditong isang picture showing a geothermal power plant. So number one, we have magma, nasa ilalim ng lupa. Two, we have a reservoir of water. 3, meron tayong turbine. 4, generator. 5, transformer. 6, electric mains. 7, we have condenser. And then we have a cooling tower. So, cold water is pumped into heated rocks. So, malamig na tubig papasok dito sa ating reservoir of water. Okay? Tapos, yung water would be converted into steam. So, dahil mainit yung magma sa ilalim, so itong magma na to will make the water boil. Pag nag-boil ito, liquid will turn into gas or steam. So, yung steam natin rises up to power the turbines. So, yung gas na yon na sobrang init would make our turbines turn. Papaikutin niya yung turbines na to. Tapos yung turbines connected to generators. The generators will generate electricity and then it would be passed on to the electric mains. And then we have electricity. Tapos yung excess water is cooled and then the process starts again. So, you can see here that geothermal energy is a renewable energy source. So, here in the Philippines, we also have geothermal energy power plants because we have many active volcanoes here in the Philippines. Next, another benefit that we get from volcanoes are pumice and sulfur. So, they are used for different industrial purposes. Effects of volcanic eruptions. During volcanic eruptions, the communities surrounding a volcano are significantly affected. A volcanic eruption may leave positive or negative effects. Like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions cause changes on the Earth's surface. Like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions can cause changes on the Earth's surface, as we have said in the previous slide. So when a volcano erupts, it can cause the formation of landforms. So kaya nakakabuo tayo ng iba't ibang klase ng landforms or anyong lupa. Here on Earth, one cause of that is volcanic eruption. So a violent eruption can either build a bigger volcano or destroy a part of the entire shape of the volcano. The pyroclastic materials, ashes, and rock fragments can pile up and add to the rock layers of the volcano and make it a bigger one. It may also happen that due to a very violent explosion, some parts or the whole volcano can be destroyed until such time that a new cone-shaped landform appears. So ang pagsabog ng volcano, pwede siyang makapagtayo ng mas malaki pang volcano. So yung mga pyroclastic materials, pwede silang magpile, magpatong-patong on top of each other. So pwede niyang palakihin yung volcano. Or sa sobrang lakas or violent ang eruption, pwede rin niyang ma-destroy or masira yung ating volcano. Okay, next. Due to strong tremors, fissures on the ground that surrounds the volcano can also be seen. So, pwede rin tayo makakita ng mga cracks sa lupa kapag mayroong volcanic eruption. A lahar that flows in huge amounts can cover certain land areas. So, ang mga uh, volcanic materials, tapos biglang umulan, pwedeng maghalo yon, tapos pwede siyang magdulot ng lahar. So, lahar is a mud flow, and ang effect nito, it can change a residential area or an agricultural area into a desert-like one. So, nagiging parang maladesyerto yung dating residential area or isang agricultural area because of ilahar. So, lahar and pyroclastic deposits also alter river systems. So, ang effects ng lahar could be clearly seen in places in Zambales and Pampanga. So, pag kami pumupunta ng Pampanga, nakakakita kami doon ng mga areas na parang disyerto. So, yung mga buhangin na nandun sa area na yon, yun ay lahar. Okay, so pyroclastic materials coming from the volcano plus rainwater, naghalo, tas nung natuyo, naging parang disyerto na yung area na yon. And then, river systems are also altered. So, because of lahar, yung mga dating river na may tubig, natutuyo, tapos nagiging ng parang, ano na siya, land. Okay, lupa na talaga. So this picture will show the different effects of volcanic eruption. So the first one is formation of landforms. So in Hawaii, when a volcanoes erupt, so the lava sometimes flows towards the sea. So pagdating dito sa sea, yung ating mga molten rocks, they tend to cool and harden. So pag tumigas na sila, a new land is formed. So ganyan na bubuo yung mga isla in Hawaii. And then, another effect of volcanic eruption, it could build a bigger volcano. So pag lumabas yung mga pyroclastic materials, they may pile up on top of each other, causing the volcano to become bigger. Or sometimes naman, sa sobrang lakas ng eruption, yung volcano natin pwedeng masira yung entire shape ng volcano. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga tinatawag na caldera. Okay? Tapos, due to strong tremors, pwede rin tayo magkaroon ng mga fissures on the ground. Nagkakaroon ng cracks sa lupa that surrounds the volcano. And then, another effect of volcanic eruption is lahar. So, here is a picture of lahar during the time when Mount Pinatubo erupted. So, yung pyroclastic materials combined with rainwater caused a very strong mud flow. Tapos, yung area, natabunan na siya ng lahar. Kaya naging para na siyang maladesyerto. Volcanic eruptions cause direct and indirect hazards. Violent eruptions of some volcanoes in the Philippines and other countries had left tremendous damages. So this picture are the effects of the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991. So Mount Pinatubo is an active stratovolcano in the Zambales Mountains. So it is located in the boundary of these provinces, Zambales, Tarlac, and Pampanga, all in Central Luzon. So active volcanoes are a threat to people, properties, and even the environment. Pyroclastic flows, lava flows, falling ash, and debris flow results from erupting volcanoes. So, pyroclastic flows contain mixtures of hot ashes, fragments, gases, with a temperature of about 850 degrees Celsius or higher with fast speed. Lava flows are devastating to properties and cause economic loss due to damaged crops. Debris flows called lahar, which is made up of concrete-like mixtures of volcanic debris from melted snow or rainfall, can travel fast into surrounding valleys and can damage everything in their path. So here are pictures of lava flows. So this is a lava flow in Hawaii. So makikita natin na yung lava ay nag-flow sa mga roads. Tapos, na-damage na yung mga electrical lines nila. Okay? Next, we have a lava flow that happened in a field. So itong agricultural area na to ay nasira na because of the lava flow. So, effects of volcanic eruptions. So, number one, positive effect. So, a volcanic eruption has positive effects. So, the lava and ash deposited in the soil during an eruption provide valuable nutrients for the plants. So, they make the soil very fertile, which is good for agriculture. So as I have said earlier, farmers prefer planting in areas that are near volcanoes because the soil is very fertile, mainam pagtamnan. Kaya, marami silang naaani. Next, the heat under the ground close to a volcano can provide opportunities to generate geothermal energy. So this natural heat causes underground water to boil and turn into hot steam. So kanina 'di ba pinaliwanag ko na rin sa inyo, okay? So cool water is injected into the reservoir, liquid turns into gas, yung steam is used to power turbines. Tapos yung turbines natin connected sa mga generator that generates electricity. Tapos yung ating electricity is transferred to the electrical means. So, ang ating heat from the earth, it can be used to produce geothermal energy. So, geothermal power plants use this energy to turn turbines and generate electricity. Next, ano naman ang negative effects ng volcanic eruption? So, discharge from volcanic eruptions can bring about negative effects. For instance, volcanic ash can cause problems in people's respiratory systems. So, itong mga volcanic ash na to, okay, so these particles, these ash particles become part of the atmosphere, which when inhaled can cause respiratory problems like asthma. So kapag yan ay pumasok sa ating katawan, pwede tayong magkaroon ng hika. Okay? Ashfall can also cover the leaves of plants and affect their growth, just like what happened when Mount Taal erupted. So, yung mga pinyahan, yung mga pineapple farms in Batangas, tas ito mga taniman ng cabbage in those areas, so nasira. So, bakit nasisira? Leaves have stomata or opening that receives sunlight and collects carbon dioxide from the air. These components are necessary to make food that nourishes the plants. So, when the plant's openings are blocked, they start to wither and eventually die. So, dahil natakpan yung mga stomata ng ating mga plants, yung mga leaves ng mga plants, so, hindi sila makapag function properly para makapag-photosynthesis. So let us discuss the different activities that you will do. Independent activity number 1. Fill me in. Supply the missing letters to complete the word being described. Number 1. It is molten rocks beneath the earth. 2. It is used in grinding and polishing shoes or stones. 3. It is used in making matches and firecrackers. 4. It is the point beneath the earth's surface. And number 5, it is the magma that flows out on the surface. Independent assessment 1. Is it a fact or a bluff? Write the word fact if the statement is correct and bluff if it is not. 1. The molten rock beneath the earth is known as magma, while lava is known as the magma that flows out of the volcano. 2. Lava flows, destroy everything in its path, causing fire and burying or burning all things it comes in contact with. 3. The place where an earthquake originates is known as the epicenter. 4. Rocks slipping along a fault under the ocean cause a tsunami. 5. Earthquakes and tsunamis are man-made disasters. 6. When a typhoon comes, the sky is clear and the wind is gently blowing. 7. Stay in a shelter away from the site of a volcanic eruption. 8. A volcanic eruption can destroy properties and affect people. 9. Stay outdoors while the volcano near your house is erupting. And 10. Go out to see what is happening outside. Next, independent activity 2. Find the 5 hidden words about earthquake and volcanic eruption in this loop a word puzzle. Next, independent assessment 2. Catch the match. Match the description in column A to the correct term in column B. Write the answer on the space provided. So number 1, column A, the strongest and most devastating earthquakes. 2, it is occurring in an area that is associated with volcanic activities. Next, number 3, it is an area encircling the Pacific Ocean where earthquakes and volcanic activities occur. 4. A point on the Earth's surface directly above the earthquake's focus. And 5. The release of magma from the crater of a volcano. So your choices, epicenter, Pacific Ring of Fire, tectonic earthquake, volcanic earthquake, and volcanic eruption. Independent activity 3, let's compare and contrast. Using the given Venn diagram below, make a comparison and contrast between earthquake and volcanic eruption. Similarities will be written on the overlapping circle here, while the differences will be written on both sides of the circle. So here and here. Next, independent assessment 3, brain gauge. Write a meaningful essay about the causes and effects of natural disasters such as earthquake and volcanic eruption. So write the title of your essay on top. So pwede nyo i-title dito ay Causes and Effects of Earthquake and Volcanic Eruption. So write a very meaningful essay about the topic and you will be graded based on this rubric. Criteria, coherence, 5 points. Content of the essay, 5 points. Organization, 5 points. Grammar and spelling, 5 points for a total of 20 points. Next, what I have learned, complete the given phrase below. First, I learned that earthquake. Next, I realized that volcanic eruption. So you are going to complete. What I can do, Using the given diagram below, write the word or phrase that you can associate with volcano. You can add more boxes around the illustrations of the volcano for your other answer. So maglagay daw dito ng mga words associated with volcano. So you can write as many as you can. Assessment. Choose the letter of the best answer. Write your answer in a separate sheet of paper. See pages 14 to 16 of Quarter 3, Module 4. Additional activity. So this will be your performance task number 3.4. Simulate a volcanic eruption using local materials. Objectives. After performing this activity, you should be able to demonstrate and describe how volcanoes erupt. Materials needed: 1 tin can, 3 tablespoons of baking soda, half a cup of vinegar, modeling clay, 1 teaspoon of red food color. Procedure: wrap the tin can with modeling clay to shape it into a model volcano. Do not put modeling clay on the open part of the can. Put a tablespoon of baking soda in the can. 4. Add the red food color to the baking soda. Mix slightly, and then pour a cup of vinegar into the tin can and observe what happens. So let's take. Okay, so this picture will give you an idea as to what you will do with the activity. So habang ginagawa niyo yung activity na to, patulong kayo sa inyong parents or sa inyong mga kapatid na i-video kayo habang kayo ay gumagawa ng activity. So pagkatapos, habang nagvi-video, mag-shot din kayo or magte-take din kayo ng picture. Tapos yung mga pictures, i-attach nyo po ito sa inyong answer sheet. Okay? So, kuha kayo ng cylindrical container. So, ang binigay na material sa ating activity ay isang tin can or lata ng sardinas. So, kahit hindi lata ng sardinas, basta medyo cylindrical. And then, yung modeling clay, place it around your container. Tapos, i-shape nyo na parang bulkan. Ngayon, kung walang clay at mahal ang clay, wag nang bumili, mag-improvise na lang. Kuha kayo ng karton, tapos i-shape nyo na parang cone ng volcano. So, medyo triangular. Pag nagawa nyo na yon, ang susunod na gagawin, maglagay ng baking soda dito sa cylindrical container natin. Tapos, instead na sa baking soda kayo maglagay ng food color, ang gawin nyo na lang ay yung vinegar ang lagyan nyo ng food color. Okay? So, pag okay na ang cylindrical container, meron ng nakapalibot na model ng volcano, tapos meron ng baking soda sa loob, sunod yung ibuhos yung vinegar doon sa ating cylindrical container and then observe what happens. So, this picture will give you an idea as to what will happen. Okay? So, ulitin ko, habang ginagawa ang activity, videohan ng sarili. Yung very short video ay isisend nyo sa aking messenger. Habang nagvi-video, mag-picture yung photos habang ginagawa ang bawat procedure, i-attach sa inyong answer sheet. Next, guide questions. Number 1, what did you observe when you poured vinegar into the can? 2, what causes the baking soda to rise? Where did it flow? What does your observation represent? 3, how can you relate the activity to a real erupting volcano? And 4, what damages can a volcanic eruption bring when the lava starts to flow? So answer these questions after doing the performance test. So, in our NYSci Quarter 3 Module 4, Earthquake and Volcanic Eruption, these are the things that you need to have on your answer sheet. What I know, what's more, sasagutan po ang independent activities 1, 2, and 3, independent assessments 1, 2, 3. So, sana, as 7 STE students, wag na nating laktaw-laktawan yung mga gawain. Lahat gawin natin para matuto tayo. What I have learned, what I can do, assessment, and the additional activity. So, yung additional activity will be your performance task number 3.4. So, after answering, upload your answer sheets in your Google Drive folder. Ang ating path, Environmental Science, Quarter 3, Module number 4. Review Module 3 and 4 for summative test number 2. Answer the test via Google Forms. So, ang link, hindi ko pa muna isisend. So, isisend ko na lang to pag may go signal na. ng ating school principal. So thank you for attending our Environmental Science online class. God bless you all.